welcome to this, my masterclass on how to perfect home entertaining. My name is Kelly Stretton and I'm a chef, but I also run a supper club in my hometown of Manchester, which I have to say is one of my favourite things to do. Meeting new foodies who are as passionate as I am about seasonal foods and getting to cook for them in front of them in my own home is just fab. Now, I often get asked about the dishes that go down the best with my guests, and that's exactly what this masterclass is about. I'm going to take you through my top 10 dishes, which are not fancy pants recipes, but more of an elevated home cooking with a little bit more focus on the elevation. So let's get on with it. One of my first supper club dishes remains one of my best and never fails to ignite everyone's taste buds. It's my garlic prawns. So the best thing to do with this is your mise en place, which basically means everything ready. So we're going to go with the base is going to be our sourdough bread, and then we have the prawns, the parsley, the butter, garlic, chili, and lemon. So first thing to do is bake our toast, bake our bread. So you want quite thick slices because we're going to be generous to people. This is a supper after all. So we'll do 2 of those, and then they just want to go straight into the oven with a little bit of oil, just to give them some colour and crisp up, and then it will stay firm when you pour all of your buttered prawns all over them. So here we go. So if you just press them together and spread the oil around, and then these go straight into a hot oven, and they should be ready by the time your prawns are cooked. So we will start by getting the chili and the oil warmed up. So let's actually pop the pan on. There we go. And then here we go. So I remember my first supper club, this is what I did for starters, but it became so popular that it was always requested as a main dish when my friends came over, which is probably about 3 or 4 years ago, the first time I did this, and it still remains on there now. You can just really roughly chop your chilies. So we'll pop them straight into the oil. So as they warm up, all of the oil will be infused with the chili. You can put as little or as much in there. I quite like a lot of heat, so we'll put quite a bit in. And the garlic we'll save till afterwards, because we pop that in now, it's going to crisp and burn, and then it'll just be a little too bitter. So we will move on to our prawns. These ones are already prepped, but I've kept 2 back just to show you. The shells, you'll just remove those first. These are handy enough because they're easy peel shells. And then the legs, if you just hold on to them and pull, they will just come straight off. And then if you are prepping them yourself, if you're brave enough, you just need to slice straight down the back of the prawn here, and on the inside is an intestinal tract. It's just like a black line, and if you just hook your knife underneath, and it will just come straight out, and you can discard those. So I like to leave the tails on because the first thing I do when I make this is I pull one straight off and eat it. I can't wait to use my knife and fork. So we keep those on so people can just get stuck straight in. You can hear the chili sizzling away there, so we're nearly ready to pop our prawns in. Let's just make sure most of those shells are off, because there's nothing worse than having, when you're having your dinner, to actually start faffing around with all this bit. If you do all the hard work and then your guests get to have all the fun. So I can turn that down now. It's getting a little hot. You don't want to overcook your prawns, which is so easy to do. There we go. What I would recommend doing with your prawns is if you go in a clockwise way, then you remember where they've gone, and you can turn them that way as well, so everything's evenly cooked. And you'll get that nice sizzle. Spread those chilies about so they get all of the prawns. Here we go. So these are jumbo king prawns, and they're really, really big and juicy. So then when you're cooking them, they don't overcook, because there's nothing worse than a dry prawn at the end of this after all your hard work. So pop this out the way. So we can get on to now. We've gone lazy for this one. So we have the garlic puree, but if you prefer the bigger chunks, or you can even slice them and pop them in towards the end, and they will do the garlic crisps, which are always nice if you do like quite a lot of garlic. So the parsley we've got, we will just get ready. We'll save a few at the end for plating, and you just need to roughly chop as we go. So parsley goes really well with the flavours of the chilli, with the prawns. And it's so nice to have a fresh herb because it's so bright and vibrant. And the green just goes lovely against the red chillies because we all know we eat with our eyes. So it's just a little bit of aesthetics as well as the flavours. And we will just check on the bread and turn it over to make sure it toasts on both sides. Here we go. That's looking good and the crust is getting nice and hard, which you do want because then it will hold up against all of the glorious garlic butter we are going to put in a moment. So here we go. Can you see just how it's gone really pink and it's just started to catch at the edges? That's exactly what we're looking for. And then you just want to turn them over in the same order. You probably want about 1.5 minutes on the first side. And then as you turn them, I'd check after 1 minute, but maybe 1.5 minutes again. Okay, so we can just season those with a bit of salt. That's mainly for taste. And you just want to drop in some of the butter now, and that will just melt all around the prawns and give it a glorious buttery sauce at the end that we are going to drizzle over all of the bread. So we will just chop off some more of the chilies. I'm doing these ones nice and chunky, so then they don't cook down as much as these ones and you'll still get a punchy, fresh chili flavour. There we go. And those prawns are nearly done, so it's time. Just swirl that around so you can melt down all of that butter. And it's about about time to pop the garlic in. So you can just sprinkle that all the way over. I think the first time I had this, I was on holiday with the girls, and it just turned out to be the best dinner while you're enjoying a nice bottle or two of red wine, which normally you would probably have white with fish, but because it's packs such a flavour and the prawns are so chunky, they hold up really well with red wine. So now you can take that off the heat. They're done. You're just looking for it to be nice and firm, caught on the outside, nice and pink, but then really juicy and white, so in the middle. And then you can just pop through as much garlic as you want. Stir that around, and you can leave that off the heat. We will grab the toast, and we're ready to plate. So, here we go. That's now, oh, it's lovely and crispy. I think the sourdough crust really holds up on this dish. You can just pop that straight onto your serving plate. Pop the prawns. In fact, I'm going to go hands in. It will be easier. You can grab the tails and just, if they behave, you can stack them up on top of each other. Here we go. They are a little bit hot. Luckily, you start getting asbestos fingers in this game. Here we go. And then you don't want to waste any of that goodness. Don't forget you're celebrating, so you're allowed the butter. And just drizzle that all the way over the top. Here we go. And you can just sprinkle some parsley around the edges. Open a bottle of wine. So there it is, my first supper club dish and still one of my best. I told you it was just elevated home cooking, but it is so worth it. Join me next time in this masterclass for another one of my classic supper club dishes. Bye for now.